Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm busy trying to convince the scientists that they should not be teaching any evolution until they prove it. You can't be teaching something that hasn't been proved. And you can't assume something exists when you haven't seen it happen. Especially because that's not science. Science is what you observe to happen, what you can prove to happen. So if you didn't observe it, or you can't prove it, you can't teach it. It's absolute nonsense. It's not even close to science, and you're wasting all kinds of money and resources looking for aliens trying to prove it. Creationist predictions are proved over and over, time and time again, and we told you so. You think you found a primitive man from a pig's tooth? We told you so. No, you didn't. You think you found an arboreal ape that turned into a human? No, you didn't. We told you so. You think that apes can make human footprints? No, they didn't. We told you so. You have no evidence. You have zero evidence that any mistakes in the copying the genome is going to write vast amounts of instruction and it's not there. It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. It's your faith. You have a lot of faith in what has zero evidence. You have no evidence of any of that taking place. The first thing you jump to is the fossil record, the quote-unquote record of fossils, which suddenly appear fully formed without having any ancestry whatsoever. Sure, there's variation. There's supposed to be variation of the same thing. When you copy information, you're going to have a copy of information. You're going to have variations of that information. You're not going to get instruction that's not there. So if you have vast amounts of instruction that's not there, then it's not a copy of the original common ancestor. Everything is a copy of its original ancestor. Nothing can ever be what it has no instruction to be. Nothing. You can't get instruction that's not there. And I shouldn't have to be teaching this to scientists. This is your belief that you have failed to prove time and time again. It's absolute nonsense. And the last thing you should be doing is teaching it to kids or unstable adults, people that want to believe a lie, because you're teaching a lie. Ken Ham is right. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. And it has no place in an educational system. You can't teach lies in an educational setting. Can't teach lies as fact. You didn't observe it happen. You can't prove it happened. You can't teach it. It's a lie. There's no such thing as magical matter writing instruction that's not there. It doesn't exist. You waste all kinds of time and money, and you deceive, mislead all kinds of people all over the world with lies that people are ready to believe. The default position is that you have a maker. The default position is that energy comes from a greater energy. The default position is that there is a God of all gods, a God of gods, the one true God. That's the default position, because that's what the evidence shows. If you simply matter-of-factly observe the evidence of what you see, you will arrive at an all-powerful, all-knowing, intelligent God who is not limited by his fabrication of time and distance, limited, quantifiable time and distance. Everything came from everywhere, not from nowhere. It didn't come from a single point, it came from everywhere. Because God is everywhere. God is all-powerful. He has all power everywhere. And he created matter. Matter is what dilates time and distance. Matter is what makes physical things possible. Matter slows down time and contracts distance in order to have physical things take place. It's the only way physical things can take place. And those physical things don't have a mind, and they don't have intent or purpose. Everything is what it's forced to be, and everything can only do what it's made or directed to do. They're physical things, they're objects. The objects do not have a choice in what they are made to do. Of course, there is a source of what makes them do what they do, or what makes things what they are, and what makes them do what they do, what gives them the properties that they have, and what orders them to do what they're directed to do. You can't have things making themselves, directing themselves, or programming themselves. That is not science. It is not science. It is absolute rubbish. It is nonsense. It's a lie. You can't teach lies to kids. You can't teach lies to vulnerable adults. Adults that already don't know anything because they've been lied to all their lives. You can't teach nonsense. If you do, you are a liar, and you're not a scientist. You are not a scientist. A scientist teaches what can be observed or proved to exist. Evolution has never been observed or proven to exist. It doesn't exist in any way, shape, or form. Variation of instructions that are already there is not evolution. Altering what is there, already there, is not evolution. It's a degradation of the information, the instruction that's already there. It doesn't write instruction that wasn't there. It alters what is there already. and it can't get there on its own. You need intent and purpose to have a working mechanism, a directed working mechanism. You need intent and purpose. Everything falls apart at a much, much, much greater rate than anything ever puts itself together. Nothing ever puts itself into directed working order. Ever. And it always falls apart if it is put together, because that's entropy, and that's contamination, it's alteration, it's changing of the instruction that is there. Just because the instruction that is there is versatile and was made not to be obsolete in a couple thousand years, doesn't mean it wrote itself. Again, the default position is that we have a maker. We exist, you exist, so you have a maker. And it wasn't your parents that sequenced your genome. They recombined a genome that was already there. They had nothing to do with the concatenation or programming of the genome, of your genome. And people are so out of it, they don't even know that the genome is programmed. Because if it wasn't programmed, you wouldn't be a human. You were a human instead of a gopher because you were ordered to be a human. You were directed to be a human. And that is the observation, that is the science. The science is that we were made to be what we are. Because we can't make ourselves, and nothing in the universe can. All power, knowledge, intelligence comes from a greater power, intelligence, and knowledge. And he has instruction for us to follow. He has wisdom for us to observe. That's what you should be teaching the kids. That's what you should be teaching people. Should be teaching the truth. Teaching that your maker is the only possible savior. You want to know the absolute truth? Hello, Fight Against Evolution. The absolute truth is that you were made to exist. The absolute truth is that only your maker is able to perfectly cover for you himself, since all your sin is on and against your maker anyways. He's the only one who can perfectly cover for you and remake you again from the inside out by the power of his true word, by the power of the truth that we are made again, that we are remade. It's called being born again. Thank you, Fight Against Evolution. God bless you too. Evolution is so annoying. It's absolute nonsense. And I challenge any so-called scientist that think they know something to come and tell me something. Because there is nothing any scientist can ever tell me about evolution. And it shouldn't be in our vocabulary. There shouldn't be the evolution of this or the evolution of that. There is no such thing as evolution. It's called development. Development is with intent and purpose. There is no such thing as getting ahead by accident or making progress by accident. If you want to talk about the immune system, that's another thing. It's from existing information that's already there, and it's already being altered. And the immune system uses mutations to fight diseases, but it's using information that's already there. It's not writing instruction that's not there. It's altering what is already there in order to combat what is already there. And the diseases and things, or the viruses and such, are probably just rogue information anyways to begin with. What they do is searching theories that fit their claims. Yeah, they're looking for aliens. They're looking for aliens to try to prove their claim. But they have nothing in their hands. Have nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's, you know, if we did that, tried to teach kids without any basis whatsoever, we'd be harassed. Of course, we teach the truth. We teach what does have evidence, what can be corroborated, what can be confirmed. It's true that we exist. It's true that we have a maker. It's true that only our maker can be our savior. No one else can be. There is no other truth. It's the teaching of the one true God. There is only one truth. There's only one true God. All power and all powers come from a greater God, greater power, an infinite potential. These are simple observations that any goat herder can make. And these scientists think they know something, and they make themselves out to be the misled, unknowing people that they are. And they purport themselves, and then they slander creationists, and they attack creationists. The ones that tell the truth, they kick from the educational systems. They kick them out. Mark Armitage, they kicked him out. You can go on down the line of people they kicked out of the educational system. Ben Stein had a movie, a documentary on that very thing. How creationists are systematically removed from the educational system one way or another in favor of a lie, in favor of nonsense, idolatry. Because it's idolatry. It's paganism. Yes, they claim to be wise, but became fools. Even God exposed them. It's so obvious. It's so obvious, and these people with big names go around making money, pushing their lies, their absolute nonsense, and they only get their money from people who think they have something to say. and they should be regarded as lunatics, people with nothing to say, because they're not saying anything of substance. They don't have anything of substance to say that energy made itself and directed the programming to make mom and dad. They don't have any evidence to say that, and yet that's what they're saying. They make fun of Kent Hovind all day long, saying that they think life came from the rocks. Well, they do think life came from the rocks. That's what they believe. That's what their belief is. They believe it all day long. They believe that rocks made themselves and then made mom and pop. It's object credit giving, it's idolatry. It's pagan worship. It's giving glory to mindless matter. Belief in mindless matter making you. And it's absolute nonsense. It has no place in the educational system. It has no place whatsoever. Everything in the fossil record, they always appeal to the fossil record. Everything in the fossil record, quote unquote record, because they were all buried at the same time. Everything in the sediment layers was all buried the same in a matter of weeks. The same period of time. Everything in there. They appeal to the fossil record, and the fossil record disproves their belief, because everything appears fully formed. Nothing turns from one thing to another. Anything can only be a variation of itself. It can never be anything else. Think of it that way. You can only be a variation of yourself. You cannot be something other than what you are. There is no instruction to be anything other than what you are. You can't get the instruction to be a butterfly. It's not there. It's not in your genome. And there's no way to get it into your genome. Everything is made to be what it is. There's no such thing as a bottom-up instruction. You can have top-down variation, but you can't have bottom-up creation, because it's bottlenecked all the way. It's a bottleneck of information, or a lack of information all the way. There is no information. There is no information for one thing to turn into another thing that has other instruction. It doesn't exist. Satan is the author of confusion, the lies. The liar is the author of confusion, and he uses evolution as one of his tools to distract the people from God. Yeah, it's used to justify people's actions. It's just a lie, and lies confuse, and that's why people are so confused. That's why you have people that actually say, I don't see any evidence of God. Everything is evidence of God. I don't see any evidence of God. Well, what about the ground that you stand on? What about the air that you breathe? What about the food that you eat? You think it just magically made itself exist? It's all there because it was made to be what it is. And it ruins lives. It ruins people's lives. It destroys everyone's lives. Lies, that's what lies do. Lies destroy people's lives. And evolution is a lie. And I challenge any so-called quote-unquote scientist who thinks he knows something to come to and prove otherwise. Prove otherwise. Yes, the problem is people say, first see, then I believe, but God says, believe, then you will see. Right, because God tells the truth. That's the difference. We believe the truth, and you will see all kinds of great things. If you believe a lie, expect misery your whole life. Expect misery as far as your conscience is concerned. Expect you to be confused your entire life. What good is it to have a house, to have a home, to have everything, and to be confused and miserable? And have your own conscience accuse you? What good is it? You're going to be a liar for eternity. What good is it? It's not worth it. Evolution is not worth it. Lies are not worth it. You have to believe the truth. That's what science is all about, is learning the truth. That's what Isaac Newton was all about, is teaching truth, learning the truth. He didn't know all the truth, but he said, look, we can learn the truth. We can know God by way of the things that are made. We can learn the truth. That's what science is about. Science is knowing. Science is knowing, and you can't know a lie because a lie doesn't actually exist. Hello, Gnostic Books, how you doing? Como é que tá? Tá tudo bem? What is your doubt about evolution? There is no evolution. My doubt, there's just no there's no way of getting instruction that's not there. I know you might have just started listening just now, but there's no way of getting instruction that's not there. Let's see. BL equals C. What's BL? I don't know what BL is. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not too good with the chat. There is no doubt at all. Yeah, there's no doubt that we were created. Oh, beleza. Okay. Tudo bem. Yeah. That's great. I like being multilingual. And it's pretty good. See, I'm saying okay. How about you? Yep. Oh, I'm doing fine, thank you. It's almost the weekend. I have to work one more night, and then I'll sleep for about a day, and then I'll be on the weekend. So, so yeah, there's science. Evolution is what you can science is what you can know. Evolution is not something you can know. It has never been proved, and there is no evidence of any actual evolution. You can have variation of what's already there, but you can't have writing instruction that's not there. And unrelated mistakes are not going to write instruction that's not there. It's only going to alter the instruction that is there. There's a big difference between altering the instruction that is there and writing instruction that's not there while maintaining the instruction that is there, because you have to maintain the instruction that is there as well. The theory of evolution is only the model to explain biodiversity. I don't understand why it is such a problem. Well, that's the sneaky way of putting it. Because we do see variations. It's a model to explain biodiversity. Yeah, well, that is saying that variations are going to come up with different living organisms. Well, you're going to have variations, lots of variations, but you're not going to have a novel creation. You're not going to have novel information for something to be other than what it was made to be. It's like if you compare the chimps and the human's genome, you'll find that to begin with, the Y chromosome of the chimp is completely different. And if you compare the entire genome, the chimp has a lot of instruction that humans don't have, and humans have a lot of instruction that chimps don't have. And that proves to me that we are not copies of the same ancestors. Besides the fact that I know that everything was buried in the global flood anyway, because all the fossils are all examples of samples of things that were living at the time of the global flood to begin with. So there's no evolution there. It's not a demonstration, or it's not showing any developing evolution. You can see a lot of variation in fossils. There's a lot of variations of dinosaurs. There's a lot of variations of everything in the fossil record. Trilobites, there's a lot of variation of trilobites, at least, a little bit of variation. But there is never, everything is fully formed. Everything appears fully formed. Nothing is found to be making itself. Do you think a dog can produce anything other than a dog? No, I don't think. I think there's probably even different kinds of what you might call dogs, because there's hyenas, there's foxes, there's different kinds of foxes, and I don't believe they are all the same kind, because there were different kinds of birds on the ark. There was a raven that was released, and there was a dove that was released. There was two different kinds of birds that were on the ark, and we know there's parrots that are unique to what they are. There's, of course, ravens and crows. There's vultures. There's owls. These are all different kinds of birds. And there's probably, we know that there was a lot of different kinds of dog-like animals, including the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, which is not a dog. There's what they call in America there was large dogs, but they might not have been dogs. They might have been another kind. And the dogs we see today, maybe they're not all the same kind. Maybe the bush dog is not exactly the same as the other kind of wolf. Maybe it is, but we'd have to look at the genome and to see if they could be copies of the same common ancestor. Because if they have, vast amounts of instruction that the other one doesn't have, then it's probably not the same kind. Probably doesn't have the same common ancestor. Have you ever seen a German Shepherd producing a Chihuahua? No, but we know that dogs have been bred for thousands of years, and we do have a lot of variations of what are dogs, and they are compatible with each other if you make them to be. They might not be compatible physically, but they are if if you cross them in a test tube, they probably are compatible. But it's to me it's animal abuse, the breeding of dogs to extreme, variations, because they get all these little dogs that have the short legs that are entirely helpless, completely helpless in the real world, and they're entirely dependent on humans to exist. And the same thing with cats. To me it's animal abuse. Are they both still dogs though? Yeah, they're still dogs, except that, like I said, one's a deformed dog. The Chihuahua's a deformed, you know, dog produced by animal abuse, which doesn't disprove or doesn't do anything to prove evolution. It just proves variation of the same kind. Even though there could be hyenas, for example, that are not dogs. And there could be other things. You know, South America has bush dogs. I think even two different kinds of bush dogs. And I'm not sure if they're the same kind as a wolf. They could be a different kind. We'd have to compare the genome. So no matter how much they change within that clade, they will always be classified as dogs. Yeah, but I don't see how that proves that you can get instruction that's not there, or a new kind of an animal that doesn't have the same instruction, doesn't have the same base, because everything is a copy of its ancestors. And if it's a copy of its ancestors, it's not going to be anything other than a copy. It will always copy the information that's there. It can't copy instruction that's not there, which is in other animals. So, you know what is so funny? You never see evolutionists talk about the future. They have no idea. If you ask them, for example, what kind of humans or animals we can have in 2000 to 1 million years. Predictions, no ideas or theories about it. Yeah, they have no idea because although I have seen somebody try to say there are different kinds, or what humans will look like in the future, but it's just speculation. They have bug-eyed people and stuff like that. Looking a few clades behind, they're both mammals. Well, everything has to grow, but not everything is a copy of the same common ancestor, is the point that I would make. Chimps are not a copy of a human ancestor or the same ancestor of humans, and humans are not copies of the same ancestor that produced chimps, because there's instruction there that neither one has. There's, it's a good deal. It's like 30% of the genome is unique to what it is between chimps and humans. And it's all information that they excluded when they made the comparison between chimps and humans. That's why they got the 98% similarity, which is probably now 94% similarity, which is still not what the truth is. So, have you ever seen a mammal produce a non-mammal? It still doesn't address the problem of getting the instruction that's not there. The mammals lactate, they produce live offspring, they do all these things, but the instruction is not the same instruction to be what it is. It's like, we have instruction to be a human instead of an otter. We don't have instruction to be an otter. Even though otters lactate, they produce live young, they have a spinal cord, the instruction is not the same. The end result is not the same. The purpose is not the same. And that's what the difference is. So you have all the sea life that's instructed to be what it is, which is instruction that is not the same instruction as a land animal. So even if it is a mammal, lactating, producing live young, it still doesn't have the same instruction to be the same thing. Its purpose is for a different purpose. And if I'm not mistaken, the Bible does say not to mix different kinds, or try to mix different kinds of animals. And that would be for the in the ways of genetics, it would be not a good idea. Even though people have, put a silk gene into goats and been able to spin a lot of silk from goats that produce silk instead of milk. It's still, do we really need it though? That's the thing. Some people, well, just because you make money off of it doesn't mean that it's a good idea. Let's see. Analog to the dog, always producing dogs no matter how different they are. German Shepherd and Chihuahua within the clade mammal. We are related to other mammals. We're related only in the sense that we both have a genome, but there's no way to get instruction from one animal to become another animal, because it's not like a top-down genome. It's not, evolution has to be bottom-up, and there's no way to get the instruction that's not there. If it was top-down, that would be another thing. If you had like all the information to be everything in a single creature, and then everything diversified, everything developed into different animals from the information that was in all the animals, then that would be another thing. But that's not what we see. We don't see that everything has the same instruction with different expressions. We see that there's different instructions, and every different animal has different instructions with different ways to express the information that they have, but not every animal has the same instruction. It is a rather simple model. It is simple to falsify. Find a creature that has nothing from the previous clade. Well, you can't say nothing because everything has to grow. Everything is made of proteins. It's just that the end result is not the same. And we do see that every genome is unique to what it has unique information. It's not that all the information is unique, but there is unique information to each different kind of animal. That's what I'm saying is how we would differentiate between the different kinds would be to compare the genomes and see which is a copy. See if the copy can be comparable, or the two different kinds can have or can be the result of same common ancestor being copied. And if there's a lot of extraneous information and instruction there between the two different kinds, is that it probably doesn't have the same common ancestor. It probably has its own kind as an ancestor, because everything in the sediment layers was buried by the same global flood anyway. So there's no evolution of kinds in the fossil record because they were all buried by the same global flood. So you can't look at two different fossils and say one turned into another one because they were both buried at in the same year. Within a matter of weeks they were all buried together. So it doesn't prove evolution. The fossils don't prove evolution. They prove that they were all buried at the same time. That is what evolution explains. Every clade we see belongs to every other clade before that. So you can't find a mammal that is not an animal clade metazoa, for example. Yeah, but there's the problem is that one, we don't have enough time because everything was buried in the same catastrophe, global flood, with consecutive layers all the way down. And the other is that you can't get the information, the instruction that's not there by unrelated mistakes. Because not only do you have to account for the information that's not there by unrelated mistakes, you have to maintain the viability of the information that is there. So what you're trying to say is that you're altering the information that is there while maintaining the integrity of the genome and also producing instruction that's not there, which is, to me is the same thing as wishful thinking. And it's not evidence and it's not scientific. That is what evolution explains. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing this this stream right here is from the Streamlabs OBS, and I'm not inviting anybody to join. Otherwise I would invite people to join, because the farm labs or farm stream, whatever that is, that limits the amount of time that you can use in a month. So I would like to schedule. I only have a conversation with somebody if I'm able to schedule them and then put them on the Streamlabs or whatever it is. The Barnyard stream. But I'm serious about calling out, evolution, or scientists who believe in evolution. And I'm still not seeing how you get the instruction that's not there. Jungle Jogging, I gotta go, but would love to discuss evolution sometime. Best regards. Sure, it's no problem. I would like to discuss with you and with anybody else too that would like to have a discussion. And maybe we can set that up. And I'll be free as far as I know the rest of this weekend, excluding like Saturday morning. Yeah, take it easy, Gnostic Book. I'm always concerned about people who only have one side of the story, I believe, and have never been presented the other side of the, what I consider the factual side of the evidence. And that's the fact that you can't generate instruction that's not there from unrelated changes to what is there. Because you have to maintain the integrity of what is there while supposedly writing vast amounts of instruction. Because what happens when you want to write a sentence by way of mistakes, you have to get the first mistake to correspond with a second mistake. You have to get a second mistake to correspond with a third mistake, and the third mistake has to correspond with the first and the second mistake, and then you have to get a fourth mistake that corresponds with the third, the second, and the first mistake. And you can see how you're going to run into problems when you go to write vast amounts of instruction that's not there. It's just not viable. It's mathematically ludicrous. It's absolute abject nonsense. Especially when we have evidence of the flood, evidence of the global flood. Because while maintaining the integrity of what is there, you're expected for mistakes to write vast amounts of instruction that's not there. And it has to be vast amounts of instruction. It can't be just because that's what we consist of. We consist of vast amounts of instruction. And it's all unique to what we are. And we can only ever be what we are ordered to be or directed to be. It's simple to understand when you understand you have a maker. But when you refuse to believe in a maker, then it's going to be harder to see it. It won't be so easy to see because you're not looking at what the evidence is. You're looking at what is not evidence. It's like Ronald Reagan said that they know a lot of what is not so. That's basically what the problem is. You're looking at a lot of things that are not real or not really there, not really factual. But yeah, so there's a big problem with evolution, being able to prove that it ever happened. Because how are you going to get vast amounts of instruction from unrelated changes to instruction that is there while maintaining the integrity of the instruction that is there, and acquiring specific direction, like to make a feather, that's not there. It's all very specific instruction. And you can go on and on with every organ in your body. The eyes, the ears, the nose. Everything requires instruction for it to be with. And it's all in the genome. It's all in the genome to make a liver, to make a pancreas, to make intestines. It's all, the information's all there in the genome. And it's really amazing how it's able to do that. And everything is specific as to what it is, or what it is to be. And when you have a breakdown of that information, that's when you have problems. Either the organ doesn't form properly, or you'll have cancerous growth, which is a huge problem. So mistakes to the genome are not a good thing unless you're talking about the immune system that uses mutations, encourages mutations for the sake of combating viruses and different attacks on the immune system. So it's able to do that. It's versatile in that sense, and it does a good job. But I see it as design. Somebody else sees it as whatever survived, whatever happened to survive. But then again, we don't have the time. We don't have near enough time for any evolution to take place. Even if you want to go the route of mistakes, writing instruction that's not there, there's still not enough time. Not in 1,000,000,000 years, not in 6 billion years, not in 20 billion years. There's still not enough time even to make a single protein, random average size protein by chance. So, CRISPR has a problem with that, but I have a problem with the protein being able to make itself in 20 billion years. And it happens by instruction very quickly, but without instruction it's not going to happen.